But Donald Trump did vote for his name to go on to the building, and for the plaza around it to be called the Donald Trump Plaza.
Correct. And it was quite a long meeting. It was about 2 hours. He said he'd been on for most or all of it.
Joining me here in the studio, we have Maggie Haberman, New York Times White House correspondent and co-author of the fabulous Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. That book, everyone, is holding steady at the top of the bestseller list for a 7th straight week. Worth it, though, honestly. It's great to have you back. I'm glad you're here, Maggie. Look, voters might think, with so much going on right now, that you'd have the president being focused on, laser focused, in fact, on the economy, on the Iran war and the like. How could he have time for a 2-hour call? Is he distracted? And I'm going to say, I have read the 70% focus line that you've been giving about where his mind actually is. So talk about that.
Sure. You can subtract, or add 5%, I think, if you want. I said that as well to Mike Allen from Axios. But I don't even think it's really in dispute, Alex. If you look at what he is doing and what he is talking about, I don't think they think of it as a distraction. I think in this White House, and this is what we show in the book, so much of the focus is on his efforts to leave his stamp on Washington, and this goes back a long time. So one of the things when we were reporting regime change that was so striking to us was that, yes, there was this board vote in December to put his name on the Kennedy Center, this board that he had created. It was all people close to him, and he had made himself the chair. They had ordered the letters to do that because they're these specially designed letters months earlier. So it's not as if this was some, sudden new, oh my goodness, what an honor. They'd been talking about this for months. People around him had been promoting it. This is what he is interested in. He is interested in construction projects broadly. He is interested in reshaping the culture, and he is interested in leaving his name in a way that cannot be stripped down and off of buildings and out of sight the way it was after 2016 when he became president in Manhattan and then after he left Washington in 2021.
Yeah, remember that whole Trump place in Manhattan?
I do.
Was all taken off.
That's exactly what I was thinking about when I was saying.
There was that one.
Yep.
So he appears to be consumed by the White House ballroom project, fully consumed by that. He's asking the Supreme Court now to intervene. The Washington Post reports that at least $900 million are being spent on White House construction-related projects there, with taxpayers covering most of that. How do White House insiders feel about Trump's obsession with these projects? And it's at the expense of what matters to voters. Are they acknowledging that inside the White House?
Yeah, if you strap his aides to a polygraph right now, and I don't mean in the leak sense, I just mean if you were giving them truth serum, many of them would say that this is unwise, not just what he is focusing on, which is what he wants to do. And they all submit to that, which is he's the president. This has always been who he is. They do wish that he would, be more interested in campaigning. He's just not for other candidates. They wish that he would be willing to spend money that he has in his super PAC. It's like $400 million as far as we know, and possibly more. They keep promising they're about to just release some amount of money. There's not that much TV time left to buy for the fall for these candidates to help them out, number one. And they wish that he would talk about the economy in a way that didn't sound as if he is being dismissive. Yesterday was a twofer. It was not just that he said in Long Island, and I was at this event that he had on Nassau County, it's not just that he said that people should be willing to pay a tiny bit more, as he put it, for gas in order to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but that also the deployments, this he said as he was on his way to the event, leaving Washington, the deployments weren't long enough in terms of these ships that have been out away from port for months on end. Nobody in the White House, when they're being realistic, thinks this is a good idea.
Can I just ask you, when you said that you're there following him, what's his reaction when he sees you in the crowd? Is there a smile? Is there a scowl?
So yesterday we were so far away in the media, and I wasn't in the traveling pool. I drove there in my car.
Got it.
Last week or the week, I can't even remember these weeks all blend together. I think it was I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before. I was in the press pool actually on the Qatari jet on the way to where was it, California and then Nevada. And he really didn't interact with the press at all. He answered one question of mine, but he's just not engaging the way he used to with the media more broadly, other than these quick phone calls that he controls the terms.
Right, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the oil prices because they are higher after this administration has said that its naval blockade of Iranian ports could continue indefinitely. And let's take a listen, as you referenced what the president was saying yesterday. Let's listen to what he said.
When you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's, I'll never apologize. I did the right thing. You just have to remember that what we're doing is a great service for the world, not only for ourselves, for the world.
But does this square with what he is saying behind the scenes? Does he believe truly that he has got the right strategy on Iran? If not, is he blaming anyone? And all the behind the scenes,
right.
We hear what he says out front.
Yeah, there's no strategy. There are basically approaches that they are looking to take that are their options that are left with as they are basically, bouncing from moment to moment in a war that the president thought was going to be very quick. And he has said that. He has privately gotten upset about how depleted the munitions are. But I know there has been a lot of questions about how briefed he was. In mine and Jonathan's reporting for this book, but we ran it in the New York Times months ago, Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was quite clear that further depletion of munitions was a risk here. Now, how specifically briefed was the president on the numbers, and did Dan Kane stylistically, grab the president by the lapels the way Mark Milley might have and said, this is where we are, sir, you need to understand? That's not Kane's style. He lays out, if this, then that, and the president often hears what he wants to hear. I'm sure that there will be things we learn about various levels he may not have been exactly aware of. But it's not a secret in this White House that munitions take time to manufacture, that they knew they were low last year because of the supplies to Ukraine in particular over some time. So this idea that this was catching anyone unawares, I think is a bit unfair. But is he angry behind the scenes? Absolutely. But he has nobody to blame but himself.
I want to ask you about this new DOJ memo saying that it plans to treat Trump's communications with outside advisors as privileged, which could potentially shield him from, let's say, congressional investigations, right? So, and even the president himself declares he is the most transparent president in history. Take a listen to what he says.
President Trump is the most transparent president in American history.
You talk about being open and transparent. This has to be the most transparent administration in history.
It's the most transparent administration that we've ever seen.
We're very open and transparent.
This is the most transparent president in history.
I'm proud to be the most open and transparent president in history.
Do you see a pattern of secrecy on display in this White House? I mean, is this a form of gaslighting? Is this a line that everybody has been fed? Say this over and over and over again.
Yes. It's not even a close call. They know that he likes that line. They know that that will be a way to evade questions. It is a display of transparency, a spectacle of transparency, which is something Jonathan and I address in the book. In fact, they are very good at keeping secrets, not just when they want to, but for reasons that are not necessarily in the public's interest. And you can go down the list, whether it is the president's money-making as the sitting president and self-enrichment and for himself and his family, whether it is something like informing reporters and some of his own staff that they were on a plane that was serving as a decoy when he was leaving Turkey. Again, it's not the idea that the president should not be safe, and it's not the idea that reporters expect that the president's safety won't come before reporters' safety, but I don't know of any instance where reporters were not let in on this in the past when something like this has happened. And so, no, his health, I mean, I can go down the list. Objectively, this is an incredibly non-transparent administration. It is how the president likes it. The tone comes from the top.
Before I let you go, I want to talk about The Atlantic, which says, even Trump cannot believe how well your book has sold. Are you surprised by its success at all? What does it say, honestly, Maggie, about the state of this presidency and perhaps the state of confusion, even among his own supporters, right? What does it say about what's actually happening that it takes this book to get it out there?
So it's a very long answer for which, I would have a conversation with you over coffee about that in terms of media environment and all kinds of other factors. But the reality is that this is the first effort, lengthy book length effort that has shown people how their government is running, how decisions are being made inside their government. And it is by this handful of people, half a dozen more or less at any given moment. That is what Jonathan and I were trying to show. That was the point of this book. And we got a book on the first 14 months of a presidency out in month 17, which in publishing is unheard of. But we were both bearish on the idea that this was going to go well. I had a long talk with my husband about it right before it came out, because Trump books in general had not been doing very well, and nonfiction has been declared dead. There was a Wall Street Journal article about that. And so we're really overwhelmed and gratified that people are interested.